Today we're going to continue talking about our adjective clause. So again, an adjective clause is not a sentence. It has subject verb because it is a clause and it is an adjective function. It modifies the noun that comes before, which is called its antecedent. And we have talked about how to use relative pronouns as subject, which comes before the verb of the adjective clause. For example, the man who is standing there is my uncle. The who is the subject. We have also learned that relative pronoun can be used as object of a transitive verb. So for example, the man whom I love is Jay. All right, so I love him. So the whom is the object. And today we're going to talk about the object of the preposition. As we have established before, a prepositional phrase contains a preposition. Sometimes we would have modifier, and then at the end we would have object of the preposition. For example, on that table next to that woman, in this drawer, all these are prepositional phrases. So if we take a look at our example sentence here, the address to which I sent my application was incorrect. The independent clause is the address was incorrect, and we have our relative pronoun which here. So originally, my adjective clause was I sent my application to the address. And since address is a thing, we have to change it to which or that. But keep in mind that when we pair it with preposition, oftentimes we would use which. So I sent my application to which. And if you remember, we have to move our adjective, relative pronoun to the beginning of the adjective clause. So I have to move the to which all the way to the beginning. And that is how I form my adjective clause. But keep in mind that in some cases, when it's less formal, we can actually leave the preposition at the end. So what do I mean by that? It is also acceptable in some cases if you write the address which I sent my application to was incorrect. All right, so this version is less formal, but some people do use it. All right, so you can see your preposition dangling here, and the object of the preposition is still at the beginning because that is our relative pronoun. Okay, and we can see the several different examples, right? I did a favor for Sandy. So I did a favor for her. For whom? So for whom I did a favor. I shared a secret with Sandy. I shared a secret with her. So that is my prepositional phrase. With whom I shared a secret. I sent my application to the school to which I sent my application. The gift was wrapped in paper in which the gift was wrapped. Okay, and you can see in the B section, right? This is what we talked about. We can have the preposition dangling at the very end and put our relative pronoun at the beginning of the adjective clause. But remember, this is not the formal way. So when you're writing academic paper or essay for your school, try to use the first type where your preposition and the relative pronoun comes at the beginning. Okay, so we're going to look at more examples in this table. So remember, whenever we're talking about people, we can use whom. And of course, for this textbook, we can also use that. However, if you are taking the SAT test, which is a test for high school students applying for college in the United States, make sure you only use who, whom, whose for people. Do not use that for people. All right, but let's take a look. We want to combine the sentences. The candidate lost the election. I voted for the candidate. Where is my prepositional phrase? For the candidate. It is a person, for him or for her. So I have to change it to for whom, right? So my sentence would be, the candidate for whom I voted lost the election. Or I can choose to have my preposition at the end, less formal. The candidate whom I voted for lost the election. And you can see why there are no commas here, because this is essential adjective clause. Okay, so I don't want to use that for people, so I'm just going to erase this. But if we take a look at the last example, the candidate I voted for lost the election. So that brings us to one very important rule. Please remember this. When your relative pronoun is essential and objective, you can omit it. You can actually take it out. But it doesn't mean it's not there. You just don't have to write it out, like in our example. All right, and you can see here for the non-restrictive or non-essential, the 2 commas, Mayor Pyle, comma, for whom I voted, comma, lost the election. Or I can leave the preposition at the end. But keep in mind that because this is non-restrictive, this is non-essential, you cannot omit the relative pronoun. All right, so when you have commas, do not omit the relative pronoun. For animals and things, it would be the same. All right, so you can see we want to combine the 2 sentences. No one had read the book. He quoted from the book. My prepositional phrase is from the book, right? And since the book is a thing, we use which or that. So no one had read from the book from which he quoted. Or we can have the less formal version, which he quoted from or that he quoted from. Or we can actually choose to omit the that because it is essential and it is objective case. But one rule to know, again, very important rule, when your preposition comes before, you always want to use which. So to which, at which. Do not use preposition plus that, okay? Then you might be wondering, why is the 3rd example okay? You can choose to use that when your preposition is dangling at the end, but not when it is before. All right? And that is why for non-restrictive, you can only use which, for which, or which John had applied for with inserter commas. Okay? And that is it. Using our relative pronoun as object of the preposition.